cut our supply line input. Took off this this plastic ball valve that's been leaking forever, that I had connected to the hose forever, because the WOM is now done. So this is the supply line now going into the WOM, and I have this valve open, so water currently is making its way all the way to here. I'm about to open this up, and that will push water into this filter, and then I'm going to turn my pump on with the 30-50 pressure switch, and that should pressurize the whole system, all my plumbing, including my pressure tank, up to 50 psi. So, let's see what happens. Open this first. There comes some water. Yeah, I mean, what we're dealing with here is gravity-fed pressure from the cistern, so kind of makes sense that it's not flowing in. If I turn the pump on, it should suck the water right in. So this is the on-off switch for the pump, and then the pressure switch will keep it on until it gets to 50 psi. So now I'll turn the pump on.
Yeah, it should be self.
Here, step back a little bit.
Sorry. You might have to prime it.
How do I push water into it?
Oh yeah, you don't have water in your system yet, huh? Oh, that valve hit your pump.
Oh shit.
Just barely. Let's see that remains.
Oh yeah.
That remains closed.
I can
bypassing.
I can move the pump a little
Yeah.
bit. Oh, pressure's going up. Filters are filling up. Oh man, look at this shit. You can hear the water going through all the pipes in the house. We're almost at 50 psi already. Look at this crap. This pressure switch should stop at 50. See what happens. This is very exciting.
There's no water going in here.
Well, maybe it needs to pressurize the rest of the system and then we'll push in there. Because that's pushing back right now. Huh. So the system is pressurized now. It got up to 50 psi, but the pressure tank barely has any water in it. So I'm going to check. It says it was pre-charged, so I'm going to check the pressure on the tank. And that's at 50 psi. So that's fine. Maybe I need to run the system for a second. Yeah. Let's try that. I'll just try running some water in the system at one of the hose bibs, and I'll see what happens with that. So the pressure tank is at 50 psi. I think that the pump pressurized that to 50, but there's no water in the pressure tank, so I think it's because there's air in the lines. I'm going to get all the air out of the lines by spraying out the hose, and we'll see what happens. Okay, follow me? Alright, so I've just been running the pressure, I've been running water out the hose, get the air out of the lines, and now we went down to 30 psi, so the pressure switch kicked on again, and I'm trying to get this thing to fill with water. It's not filling with water. So maybe I missed something. There's a valve that's not open on this thing. I didn't see any valve though. We're not getting any water in the pressure tank because this tank came pre-charged to 50 psi. What that means is there's a bladder of air in this tank, which when it's empty takes up all or most of the tank, and that's charged with compressed air, or with air compressed to X psi, whatever you compress it to. So in this case, the tank was pre-charged with the bladder was pre-charged at 50 psi. So since our system only gets up to 50 psi max, that water isn't able to get in here because that bladder is pushing at an equal pressure down on it. So we're only able to get a little bit of water at the bottom, like underneath the bladder. I just read the instructions, and for 50 psi system, or 30 to 50 psi system, which is what I'm doing, this bladder has to be at 28 psi, and that will allow the water to push back on that bladder and compress that bladder down to the point where it gets approximately 19 gallons of water in this tank. So I'm going to let some pressure out. Let me actually first confirm. Yeah, it's about 48 psi right now, so I'm going to let some of this out.
Kick on like as soon as you get to that point, or?
It depends on how much water goes in here. Because right now this is up. The system just got down to 30 psi because water, as I release pressure from this, water is able to fill this up and reduce the pressure in the system. So it just got down to 30 and now it's filling up, and now I can feel water coming into this tank. Still at 40 psi here, so I gotta keep going. So the pump is gonna run for a while now because I keep allowing more water to come in here. This is gonna fill up 19 gallons. I'm not able to see what the actual pressure of this is right now because my pump is running that's pressurizing this tank. I think this thing needs to be 28 psi empty. Alright, so I'm going to turn the pump off, and now I'm going to go outside and empty all the water in the system out, draining this tank, and I'll actually get to see what the actual pressure, what the pressure of this tank is empty. I purged the whole system. There's zero pressure. There's nothing left in this tank. I'm going to get a reading. I'm at 19 psi. We need to get up to 28. I'm going to fill that up. Before we were trying to take air out of this pressure tank while the pump was running. So as we were making that bladder smaller, the pump was just running to replace that pressure. So the pressure was staying around like 35 psi. I couldn't get it down. I realized, oh, pump's on. Turned it off, flushed the system, and now we're pressurizing it empty. There it is, 28 psi with an empty pressure tank. And now I'm going to turn the pump back on.
Can I do it?
Yes.
Righty tighty.
Ready?
Yeah! Yeah, turn the pump back on. I'm getting ready to pressure test my supply water plumbing system. And to do that, you need to create an adapter.